I'll explain why in a little while. So a huge amount of things to celebrate that map to this map. The fact that in 2015, the first type of polio, there are in fact 3 types of polio, type 1, type 2 and 3. So type 2 was eradicated in 2015. The whole world was certified polio free of type 2 wild polio. Type 3, 2019, the whole world was certified wild polio free type 3. So we are only now dealing with type 1. Unfortunately, it's a tenacious little sod and it doesn't like to give up easily. But it is just type 1 that we are working for. Now, you may, I hope, have read numerous times recently, 25th of August, that this yellow blob, you don't need to worry that it's not in focus, it isn't. It's just a map I pinched off the internet. That yellow blob is what is makeup of the World Health Organization's African region. And on the 25th of August this year, so just over a month ago, it was certified that that whole region was free of the wild polio virus. That is an absolutely amazing success story. That means that the WHO regions of the world, and there's 6 of them altogether, the different colours on this map, the only region that has still got wild polio is this funny colour here, the sort of bluey green colour, because that's where Afghanistan and Pakistan sit. So that is just the one region left. And that means that 90% of the world's population live in countries that are free of wild polio. Again, an amazing success story. How much do you celebrate it in your club? How much do you celebrate it with your community, with your politicians at every level, with your school children? There's so much you could do. So, you know, the African region being polio free, have you celebrated it yet? If not, think about celebrating it. It doesn't matter that the date has passed. It's still a huge achievement for humanity. And Rotary has been absolutely instrumental in that achievement. But you could perhaps link it to the fact that in February next year at Makerere University in Uganda, the first Rotary Peace Centre on the African continent will be opening to offer the updated certificate programme on the Rotary Peace Centres. That will be only the 2nd centre in the world that offers a certificate programme, with the first one being Chulalongkorn in Thailand. So, you know, again, good links with Africa. So do you reach out in your communities to people with connections with Africa? They might have been born there, they might have worked there, they might be going out to work there. It might be that you've worked with Rotary clubs out there on district grants or global grants or other projects. It might be that there are local charities that you could be working with. Reach out to that community, talk to them about the Rotary polio story, see how you could help each other in their work, your work, not just on polio, but all of the other things. You know, the world is a very, very different place for everybody on this planet right now because of COVID. But there's actually a lot of similarities when you look back at the polio story. You know, back in the 40s and 50s, when there were major outbreaks, hundreds of thousands of people being infected, thousands and thousands of children dying, images of iron lungs, demand by car manufacturers to actually manufacture iron lungs to help people to breathe, swimming pools closed, schools closed, people not wanting to be in touch with other people. So many similarities between what we are now experiencing with COVID. So all more reasons to reach out and to talk to your community and link in what has happened. Because it is only by working together that we can end polio. And that doesn't just mean within Rotary, it means for every person on this planet. Just like for COVID, there are major implications when people don't work together, as we're all seeing, and the situation we're back into now with lockdowns in various forms. You know, cases still going up. I mean, they've reached over 1 million people have now died from COVID. we have to work together, and we have to work together at every level. So, you know, going back to when Rotary first said to the World Health Assembly, we want you to work with us, that's when the Polio Global Eradication Initiative was conceived. Rotary has been the heart and soul of this right from the outset, and it still is today. When we first started, we worked with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, we're all aware that for a number of years now, Rotary has been very, very lucky because the Gates Foundation match what we give. And right now, it's every pound that we get in Rotary for the polio campaign, whether it's us donating or it's monies that we raise, they will give us another £2. So £1 equals £3. And that's a really powerful message when you're fundraising. They're part of the initiative now, as indeed are Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. They've recently joined that initiative because the world has become so aware of the importance of access to healthcare for all, that the polio program has made the world realize that that is possible. And the joining in by Gavi is an important step forward, and of course governments of the world. And I'm sure you're all aware that the UK government, just before the last election, actually committed a further £400 million to the polio program. And a lot of that is thanks to clubs like yours and mine, districts like yours and mine, Rotarians like you and me, actually communicating with our parliamentary representatives at whatever level, our local councils, our local politicians or whatever, making them understand how important the polio program is to their constituents and to their community. You know, it's very easy to say, oh, it doesn't matter anymore, it's just Pakistan and Afghanistan. But if we don't finish the job, that will mean that potentially within 10 years, we'll be back to at least 200,000 children getting polio again every single year. Some will die, others will have a lifetime of the effects of polio. And we all know, I'm sure, of polio survivors who are now struggling with post-polio syndrome. And it's not just the person that gets the polio that's affected, it's their family, it's their community. They may or may not have a future. You know, it's difficult enough for polio survivors in Great Britain and Ireland. Imagine it if you're a polio survivor in an impoverished country in Africa or in India or any of the other countries where there isn't any support system whatsoever. So it's really important. There is no cure for polio, but a very simple drop of vaccine, 2 drops of vaccine in a child's mouth could potentially save their lives. You know, this map is one I just copied today from the WHO website. This is the cases of COVID worldwide. We don't want our orange map to end up looking like this again with polio. And it isn't something that we're safe from in the United Kingdom at all. You know, if polio starts making a comeback, there is a very real danger that comeback will also include your country, my country. You know, it is a real possibility. So our polio program has been instrumental in helping with COVID-19. I don't know if you're aware, but earlier in the year, the end of March, the polio mass immunisations that we're all familiar with, where literally every child in an entire country will be immunised in a single day or over a few days. Most, if not all of those programmes were put on pause because of the situation with COVID, the worry about transmission, the protection of the polio workers, the people being immunised, etc., etc. And I'm sure you can understand the reasons why it was put on pause. However, much of the polio programme had to continue. We had to make sure that vaccines were still being produced, that they were being stored properly, that the cold chain was in effect, that the monitoring and surveillance network was still in place, that the call centres still operated, etc., etc., etc. And in addition to that, the contribution that many polio workers, many parts of the polio infrastructure have made to the COVID response in countries where there is no systems or there are poor systems to make response possible has been phenomenal. We should be really, really proud. It's one of the legacies of the polio programme, Beyond Polio. I'm delighted to say that many of those immunisation programmes are already starting to resume. They started back in July. Burkina Faso, Pakistan, Philippines, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, you name it, those immunisation programmes are resuming. But it's not just the polio programmes that were put on pause. Many routine immunisations were also put on pause. And the polio programme is going to be a key part in how the global health system responds. You know, it's going to be a case of helping not just for polio, but also linking in to see how we can work for other immunisations. If and when a vaccine becomes available, what can happen with that? But don't panic, I'm not suggesting we're going to end up with an End COVID Now campaign. It's just that, you know, we have to realise that because of the significant role that the polio programme, courtesy of Rotary, has played and is playing, it is having a major benefit on many, many other areas. And our polio work is absolutely key. The End Polio Now programme is absolutely key, and other bits link in with it. So celebrating those successes, you know, it's not just about those global successes, it's also about the successes that you are achieving in your club and in your district. You know, I know, for instance, that the Scottish clubs, Scottish districts a few years ago now worked very closely, I think it was led by Janet Lowe, when your members of the Scottish Parliament actually all wore purple crocus buttonholes, and there were some publicity photos. You know, that's a fantastic success story, but it could be a success story that in relation to an online event right now you're going to do for polio, you're actually going to get your local politician involved, or you're going to get the local school children involved, and you're going to raise £5 or £10 or £1,000 or whatever. Everything is about a success, every activity you do. So tonight's talk, I will be registering using this link, and you can just email me. The link is often in newsletters that go out from the support centre at Ulster, and we get it added on to the map of polio activities. The more activities we are showing on that map, the better. So please, anything and everything that you do in your district, in your clubs, please register with us. We have got a target within Rotary because the Gates Foundation will give us up to $100 million every single year, but only if we raise up to $50 million every single year. If we only raise $40 million, we'll only get $80 million. If we raise $60 million, we'll still only get $100 million. But it really is tough to raise $50 million a year across the globe. And unless you happen to have a hidden billionaire in your district who wants to give some money to us, let's look at the bottom line, which is about 20 pence. You know, it really is how significant just 20 pence is, because it literally could be enough to save a child's life. And that is obviously worth 60 pence. So don't worry about this figure up here. It's a lot of noughts and, you know, over the top of my head. But I do worry about this. And I believe that we can really make a difference as individuals and as clubs and as districts. Within Rotary Great Britain and Ireland, we have translated the goal that Rotary gives globally to clubs to raise $1,500 per year for polio. We've translated it to a per capita basis, because if you've got a club like mine that's 72 members, or a club like another one I was talking to last week that only has 10 members, it's a bit unfair that we've got the same target. So in Rotary Great Britain and Ireland, we are encouraging all clubs, all Rotarians within those clubs to raise $55 a year. Now, actually, if you work out how many cups of coffee that is, or the fact that you're not meeting for your club meetings now, and you could donate your club funds, your meal funds, or you could actually do an online event such as a duck race, which one of the Rotary clubs has recently written software to actually create a virtual duck race, for the very reason that that was one of their major fundraisers every year. They can't now do it, so they've created software that makes a virtual one possible. They've done it themselves really successfully. And if you pay £50 to that polio, to that club, they will give you the software so that you can run your own event and raise the money. You know, there's lots of opportunities, but that advocacy is absolutely vital. Please keep your advocacy going, whether you're in lockdown or not, because we want people to know that there's that Rotary Polio link. And this is really something for the entire district team, for our entire clubs, and for our communities. So, you know, we know that a virus will attack people. It doesn't matter what age they are, what colour they are, what socioeconomic background they've got. And let's have everybody helping in whatever way they possibly can. We've got lots of ideas of what you can do. The plans that came out earlier in the year were obviously relating pre-lockdown, pre-COVID, pre-everything else, but there's a lot of things that are still relevant in the suggested activities. I highly recommend that you look at the rotarygbi.org website. There's two places to look. One is just go to the front page of the website, and if you go down to the activities, there's a Purple for Polio section. Now, there's information in there that is relevant to Joe Public and to you, but Joe Public, it's getting them involved, because, you know, let's not put our hands just in our pockets. Let's try and get our community involved. And then the other section is, if you log in as a member to the Rotary GBI website, there is, again, go to the foundation section, there's a Purple for Polio link, and there's all sorts of information in there. And we do try to keep that up to date. I don't always succeed, and the support team are fantastic at Ulster that helped me with it. But by and large, it's really kept up to date. So for instance, you'll find in there right now suggested press releases you might adapt for your own crocus planting, suggested press releases for your World Polio Day activities, lots of things that you can do. Again, thank you for everything that you have already done for polio, but please, please, please keep it up. Keep your foot on the pedal, because looking at Africa, for instance, keeping somewhere free of polio is actually harder than getting it free in the first place, because people will think, oh, I don't need to take my child to be vaccinated anymore because we're wild polio free. It is even harder to get them to go for their immunisations. We need to support our fellow Rotarians. I was on a call a few weeks ago to a club, and one of the people joining that meeting was actually a district governor from Sierra Leone. And I think she's got over 100 clubs in her district, which covered 4 or 5 countries. All of those Rotarians were involved a couple of weeks ago over a 3-day period doing mass immunisations in all of those countries. We need to continue to support them. You know, I hear sometimes that people are fed up of this, we can't do it, we've been doing it too long or whatever. But think about our fellow Rotarians, just like you and me, in those clubs in parts of the world where it's not just about fundraising and advocacy. It is very much about rolling up their sleeves and doing the work, month in, month out, year in, year out. So activities that we will still be encouraging you to do around Rotary Day next year, 23rd of February, start planning it now. Fill your plate for polio. What are you going to do? It doesn't mean you have to have a meeting. If you're in lockdown, why don't you all have a pie and a pint social where you're all online and just having a natter? Why don't you think about doing a club meeting where you all hold up an empty plate and a £5 note? You know, there's lots of things you can do. Be creative. I'd love to hear your creative ideas. All of the things that we do around that time get reported to the World's Greatest Meal team. They work with us on developing this concept so that it's a concentrated effort around a particular date or a few weeks around that date. But anytime, do a world's greatest meal event. Do it when you're doing social distancing and you're just going for a coffee. I mean, there was one Rotarian the other day, they did a socially distanced family picnic for one of their party's birthdays, and they raised over £1,000 for polio. You know, there's lots of things that you can do. The 1240 challenge to get moving to End Polio, another activity, all raising money for End Polio Now. Now, 1240 is the length of the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Now, that length itself is a subject of dispute between the countries, but that's the length that the WHO, World Health Organization, worked to, that it's at least 1,240 miles. So what could you do linked to the number 1240? It doesn't have to be miles. It doesn't have to be a physical activity. Could you have an online Scrabble contest? Could you have a darts competition where, you know, behind you, you've got the darts board and you're still doing it online. You've each got your own dartboard. It could be a fun dartboard. Could you be knitting 1,240 rows, creating scarves for the homeless in your area? You know, there's lots and lots of different things that you could be doing, or set yourself a 1240 challenge. I mean, there's one Rotarian, again, I've been speaking to today. He's going to walk 1 million steps. He's 83. He's going to walk 1 million steps. He's challenged himself to do 10,000 steps every day of his however many years he's been alive, and a bit more, because he thinks he's going to be able to keep going after that. You know, just whatever it is. And one of the advantages of the Get Moving to End Polio is that all the materials are there already for you on the website. They're there for the members of the public as well. And you could split the money. So this particular Rotarian is splitting the money 50% to polio and 50% to the Royal British Legion for the poppy appeal. You know, it's really simple to do. And splitting profit, splitting monies raised, is perhaps a really good thing right now when we're all struggling so much to raise money, and we've got issues in our own local communities as well. And then, of course, we've got World Polio Day, 24th of October, which is a Saturday. Purple lighting, please think about purple lighting if you haven't already done it in the past, if you haven't already got it planned for this year. It can still happen despite lockdown. You could be getting people to just put a purple light in the window of their own homes. It can be done very simply with a smartphone. It could be done very simply with some purple LED lights that you get for £5 at the local shop. You know, lots of ways you can do it. You could link it to crocus planting. Whatever you want to do, World Polio Day is a really good opportunity. Make sure you use that press release. Even if you're not doing an activity, you could still use the press release to remind your community about what you have done in the past and what you're hoping to do in the future and what you've achieved. So, you know, there's no excuse for not every single club using that press release. Wouldn't it be amazing if all of our clubs in Great Britain and Ireland issued press releases on World Polio Day? What a great story. And on social media as well. You have, I hope, seen all the stuff for the End Polio Gold Challenge. That's now up and running. It's hashtag End Polio Gold Challenge. Again, something really, really simple. Absolutely anybody, any age could get involved. Ever so simple. You know, at a meeting like this, why don't you all have a tiddlywinks contest? You know, or how far can you throw a piece of paper into your waste paper bin to actually get it in? Or how many bits of paper can you throw into your waste paper bin in 20 seconds? Or whatever. Really simple. Take that challenge. Film it, post it on social media, use your right hashtags. Yes, we want people to donate, but as much as anything, I also want people to just take the challenge and get it out there on social media. And just like £1 is worth £3, if you do it, nominate 3 friends to do it. So that that's a way of getting it spread across social media. World Polio Day itself, we're actually, because we can't do a Rotary GB&I event, we're actually doing an online event. It should be a really different, it should be a fun thing. It's at 5:30 to 6:45. It'll be on YouTube Live, but we do want people to register in advance. We've got Connie Hock and Julia Roberts, who are two of our Purple for Polio ambassadors. They're hosting the evening. It's going to be a mixture of song and stories and testimonials about our campaign. It's going to involve Rota Kids, Interact, Rotaract, Rotarians. We've got Jonathan Cavendish and Diana Cavendish from the Breathe movie. Diana was Robin's wife. If you remember, Robin was the polio victim in the movie, and Jonathan was his son and was the producer of the movie. Jonathan and Diana are joining us live on the night. Michelle Zafran, who's the director of polio eradication for the WHO, is joining us live on the night. And there's lots of little snippets, a bit of fun, and just like get other people to join. It's not just aimed at Rotarians, it's aimed at showcasing what we have achieved, because we have achieved so much. What I also need, and I've seen there's a typo there, what I also need, sorry, go back, is your photos. I need them ASAP, please, of any polio activities that you've done in the last Rotary year or this year. Good quality photos with a caption. What was it? When was it? What money did you raise, or what awareness did you raise? Because what we will be doing during this live stream program is there will be some bits where there's photos of various club activities, community activities across Great Britain and Ireland. So please share those photos with me, and do make sure you use that press release. Practical help at this time. Do you know which polio survivors live in your community? If you don't, contact Colin Powell, this gentleman here, Rotarian, member of the British Polio Fellowship, polio survivor, because there are people living with the effects of polio who may well be struggling at the moment. I know there are many others in our communities that may also be struggling, but I know Colin is passionate. He was shielding for months at a time. He is lucky he had a living carer living with him, but apart from that, they weren't allowed out. They struggled to get food. They really just wanted to talk to other people. And he says that there are a number of polio survivors out there that really would just appreciate a phone call, if nothing else. So, you know, it's a practical thing that we can do. This isn't a short-term situation that we're all in. There's been a series of polio webinars. They are available on YouTube, the ones that have been. They are brilliant. Last week we had one with Dr. Tunji Funsho and Pascal Makanda. Tunji is a Rotarian, and you may have seen that he has been named as one of the Time 100 influencers of the world this year, which is an amazing achievement. It's the first time a Rotarian has been named in the Time magazine 100. Brilliant, brilliant session. Listen to the recording, really worth it. Back in July, that recording is also available. Dr. Zubair Wadood, amazing guy, Pakistani, passionate. He now leads globally for the WHO and the Polio Eradication Initiative, the link between the polio operations teams, the COVID operations teams, and the other immunization teams. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant webinar. Please listen to it. And our first webinar was with Mike McGovern, who is the lead Rotarian globally for the polio program. He's our representative, our senior representative at the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. If you listen to his talk, you will get his passion, but you have to get past the first few 10-15 minutes or so when he was talking about Fred and Mercury and whoever, not Fred Mercury, Fred and Diana and whoever else, and naming names. And it's like, no, I don't want you to talk about that, Mike. I want you to talk about polio and COVID. But anyway, it's still worth listening to, really is. And Mike, if you get an opportunity to listen to a Zoom call with him, please do. And he will be popping in just for a few minutes on our webinar, on our live event on World Polio Day. Date for your diaries, 11th of November at 7 p.m. is our next polio webinar. And we're really lucky to have Colin Powell, that polio survivor, a Rotarian that I told you about, and Anne-Lee Hussey, who is a Rotarian in America who does work globally as an advocate for the polio program. They are both so passionate, so committed, and they have that personal story. And when you listen to them, you cannot but be persuaded that we have to finish this job. So please, that's really one that I highly recommend that you listen to, get your fellow Rotarians and friends and family to listen to as well, because it will be really worth it. I'm a member of the polio team. We've got Keith Paver, Derek Rothwell, Judith Diamond and Eve Conway are all part of that polio team, where our sole purpose is to help you, to support you, to give you ideas, to answer your questions. So thank you again for everything you've done. I've gone on, I'm sorry, I get a bit overtaken by it, and having the opportunity to speak to such a diverse group is really, really important. So I'm going to stop sharing, I'm going to shut up, and anything that you want, please, I'm here to help. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, thanks, Jannine. What I'm going to do is I've got two, they probably don't know this, I hope they've seen their screens. I've got two wonderful assistants, Ken and Duncan, who are DGNs from 1020 and 1010, just to give me a hand. Did you notice? So basically, I've muted you all, but if you would like to raise your hands using the raise hand button, if you wish to ask Jannine any questions or want to share anything, I'm sure we can have a discussion on everything.
I can hear somebody's television.
I think, yeah, I'm just going to mute. Right. Walter Bell, Walter, Campbelltown.
Yes, it's a question. The suffix myelitis, it used to be poliomyelitis. I just wondered what does the myelitis bit mean?
I'm not a doctor, but my understanding is it's related to the infection, the inflammation that arises, but I'm not the expert. If you want a proper definition of it, I'm very happy to find out and come back to you. But
no, that's fine. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Walter. Ian Shaw, not Kirkintilloch, Kilmarnock.
Thanks, Gail. Jannine, there was a fantastic amount of information there. Too much to take in at one go. Is it possible that we can have a copy of a recording of this presentation?
Can I answer that, Jannine? Ian, it is being recorded. Jannine, do I have your permission to share this to our Rotarians?
Very much so, and if it's possible for me to share it as well with people, I'd love to. Yeah. But you know, I'm available to help at any point on anything. So you know, just get in touch with me if you want to give me to give a talk to your club. I can do it a lot more succinctly than that. I just really welcome this opportunity to talk to so many people across so many areas. So whatever you want, I'm here to help.
Okay. Right, I'm going to do a plug while you're here, Jannine, just while there's a gap in questions. I have been asked to plug District 1230's World Polio Day fundraising quiz, which is happening on Saturday the 24th of October, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. The secretaries of all the clubs should have had a save the date email. So this has come from District Governor Angela and End Polio Now Coordinator Tej. And basically we're wanting you to join in with a fun quiz, invite your friends, family. It's a donation ticket cost of £5 or whatever you wish to contribute. And basically the other part that they would like, it is optional, but there might be a prize for the best polio themed outfit.
I'm looking forward to seeing the photos.
Or you could just wear purple.
Or just wear purple. Just come along. I don't care what you're wearing, but please wear something.
No purple body paint then, Angela.
Oh, whatever you like, anything goes. I don't care. Just get your backside on that seat. I don't care. Just be there. That right, Tej?
Yes, of course. I was just going to, sorry to jump in, answer
on you go.
Answer the question. My light is, I was a bit slow responding because I had muted myself. Myelitis means the lining of your spinal cord, the inflammation of that, because polio affects the nervous system. So myelitis means the lining of the spinal cord. Yes,
Thanks very much, Tej. And that's why that's really good, because if you remember, you know, it's your spinal cord that gets affected by the polio, and it's much like a normal spinal injury. Whichever bit of the spinal cord gets infected is where the potential problem then comes. So that's why the effects of polio on everybody are different.
So there's a question in the chat box about what support does the Rotary movement provide to very poor countries to help them or keep polio suppressed?
That's very much part of what the Global Polio Eradication Initiative actually is all about. So, you know, the program costs not far short of $1 billion a year. And that covers so many aspects. And if we recall that the Polio Plus, you know, we are talking not just about putting the polio drops or the injections into the arms or the mouths of the children. It's also about making sure that the information is out there. In countries like Pakistan, for instance, Rotary is working with Coca-Cola to provide clean water to hundreds of thousands of people. In India, one of the times I went out to India to take part in an immunisation day, the way that they got everybody in the community to come to the immunisation day was, it wasn't just about polio. We had volunteers from the healthcare, limited healthcare that there is there, private healthcare, because there's very little government healthcare, private healthcare funded by Rotarians and other generous donors. They came, they did health camps. It covered all aspects of health for every age range, from sort of newborn babies to, I think the oldest man that I saw on that health camp was 104. And you know, so it's providing the support for that. But very much, it's a good point, because some communities resist polio immunisations because they say, well, there's no point coming and giving us just polio. We've got this need and that need and the other, and people are dying of starvation. So it's the whole package, and that's where Rotary has such a strength with our global grant projects and our district grant projects and the work we do in our communities otherwise, other than through the Rotary Foundation. So Rotary has a big impact on that, but the Global Polio Eradication Initiative and our partners in it also, it's a big part of the bigger picture.
That's an interesting point. You talked about the other things that we provide that communities need. Is that part of what we call Polio Plus?
Indeed it is, yes. Yes, I mean, originally the Polio Plus, as I understand it, was in relation to the fact that in the polio drops, they also include vitamin A. And vitamin A alone, the inclusion of vitamin A in the drops has saved over 1 million children's lives just from that. But there are so many other aspects to the Polio Plus. And, you know, they said that it was impossible to get a vaccine manufactured in point A to a point that is really remote, whether it's up the top of a mountain or at the end of a desert, where it was impossible to get that vaccine at the right temperature. And that's the cold chain that the polio program has delivered and is now used for so many other immunisation programs and other aspects. You know, the surveillance network, the laboratory network that has been established by the polio network is used for so many other things as well. We should be really proud, and we should be out there telling everybody about how fantastic the Rotary Polio program is. And you know, it was Rotary's dream, and we have to be there at the end. We have to make this dream a reality.
Sure. Anybody else got any questions? Put up your hand or put them in
Thanks,
the chat
Ken.
box.
And one of the people have mentioned about the cuddly toys. Yeah, don't forget the toys are still available. The Rotary Polio Bears are still available. One of the things that we're going to be issuing in the next few weeks is some activity sheets for a Rotary Polio Bear. There's no charge for them, but I mean, we are putting at the bottom that you might like to donate. But they're a colouring sheet, there's a word search, there's write a poem, write a short story, create your own masterpiece with Rotary Polio Bears Adventures. They're just activities for young people that you can use in your own communities, your own families, whatever. Lots of things. So please get involved, and yeah, the shop is still very much in existence. I'm amazed how many orders I'm getting in lockdown. I'm just looking in my drawer. There we go. We've got a new product. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably the wrong way around, but it's a Rotary End Polio Now wristband. So, you know, the Rotary logo, the End Polio Now. It's fully adjustable, so any size of wrist. Not for children under 3 because the adjustment is actually a wooden bead. The material it's made out of is recycled plastic, and it is fully recyclable itself. So environmentally, there's not an issue with it. So another fundraising initiative that is available through the shop.
Okay, we have a question from Indigit. Over to you. Could you unmute yourself? Indigit?
It looks like he's disappeared. The video's off as well.
Okay. I think you might be having technical issues. Has anybody got anything they want to share on what they're doing for polio, for World Polio Day? I know David Wallace, you've got quite a few things coming up with what you're doing. Do you want to go through again? David? Is his mouse?
All right. Yeah, sure. We had great plans, but unfortunately we couldn't get enough bulbs. But luckily with our friends at Paisley Callants, we managed to get a few. We look after the station at Lenzie, and we intend to plant the tubs with polio crocus bulbs. And also we are in partnership with a group called Luggy Watch, which is a burn that runs into the Kelvin, which goes in eventually to the Clyde. And we do cleanups along there, and they have various half whiskey barrels, and they're full of plants, and we intend to put the crocus bulbs in there as well. We also got Rotary Way, which was the first street in Scotland to be named after our organisation in Kirkintilloch, and we have spoken to the residents there, and there are about 20 odd houses there, and we intend to put the bulbs planted at the roadside and at the sign going into the street, and also in the gardens at the front of the houses. And the residents have shown great interest in this because they know they live in Rotary Way and didn't really know what it was about. So we've been out there to tell them what we've done and what we do. And we actually might even get a member from that as well. So that's even better.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. If you haven't already registered those activities, could you do so? Or send me an email with them, please. It sounds fantastic.
I will do that, yes. Yeah. We're on Facebook together anyway, so...
what would also be good is that street, if you know, Rotary Way, maybe you get them all to put a purple light or stand outside with a purple light or something and just take a photo. You know, use a photo opportunity, spread the word, do a short video about it. Sounds fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Ian Shaw, and then we'll go to Ian, and then I've got Bill Grant also waiting. So if I take Ian Shaw first.
And you've also got Stephen Parsons who's waving his physical hand.
Is he waving his physical hand? Right. Thank you, Jannine.
Kilmarnock Rotary Club are having an event on Thursday the 22nd of October. We're having a talk by a Rotarian and polio survivor called Joan Toon. who is a Rotarian from Victoria in Canada. And she gave an excellent talk to the Rotary Club of One World about 3 years ago, at which I attended. And they kindly recorded the session, and she has got a great talk, not so much about current things that are happening at the moment, but about the background to Rotary and what it was like in the time in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s when she contracted polio. So we've got that running, and I think some of the E-Club members will be coming along to it as well. We'll see how we go.
That sounds great. I've not heard of her before. Do let us know the details about that, and it may be another speaker that we can think about too. That would be great.
I'd like to see a copy of a recording.
Yes, please. Although I can't guarantee when I'm going to watch it.
No time.
Yeah, this last few weeks have been absolutely manic, trying to get everything ready for World Polio Day and also launching the End Polio Gold Challenge. So, but no, absolutely, just keep it coming. I just love. It's just lovely to be with a group of people who are actually looking at what they can do as opposed to moaning about what they can't.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, any of the members here tonight can come along if they want to. If they like to drop me an email, I'll send them the joining instructions for the meeting.
What was the date again, Ian?
On Zoom, 22nd, Thursday the 22nd of October.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
That's the good thing to share.
It might be slightly afterwards. The idea is that people will have a meal in their own home beforehand, perhaps with family or friends or whatever. No, it won't be friends because they're not allowed in the home, but they can invite friends, and we can send them a copy of the joining instructions. They would finish that by around about 7:45, and then log on and they'll get the talk and then a Q&A afterwards with Robin McGee, who's the doctor who had a trip to India for one of the immunisation campaigns, and possibly also Jim McCulloch, who is a member of our club, who is also a polio survivor, though you wouldn't know it to look at him.
That sounds great. Just an idea following on from what you've just said, Ian, because it is good to offer these Zoom meetings to other people as well. But maybe you want to think about doing a district meeting. Angela, I'm just wondering about you reaching out to one of your fellow DGs in somewhere like Africa or the Philippines and actually having a social and a natter about what life is like as, you know, in Rotary out there, and also specifically about polio.
I'm certainly open to doing something like that if I could find my way into it. Yeah, I maybe need some help with that. So Ian Shaw's laughing at me. So Ian, you're nominated.
Yeah. The talk I did to the Edgware and Stanmore Club a few weeks ago, we ended up, I think there were nearly 100 participants, and they were from their own club, from other clubs in Great Britain and Ireland, India, Indonesia, Africa, numerous countries within Africa, and it was just fabulous. You know, hearing someone like me talk, or a polio survivor, is one thing, but actually realizing what it's like for a Rotarian in a normal little Rotary club and what life is like for them.
Of course, yes.
It's really good.
I'll speak to Ian. Ian and I'll get our heads together and I'll get something onto maybe even LinkedIn or something like that, get an invite out there. Something we could do. I don't see why not.
Right, is that okay if I moving on? Moving on to Bill Grant, then I'm going to go to Stephen Parsons, and then Jimmy Johnston's been waiting patiently as well, and then we'll finish with David, because I'm aware time's getting on. If that's okay with everybody. Yep. Bill Grant.
Thanks, Neil. Two brief points. The first one is the crocus balls are now in possession of them, and it's a thank you to our local council, South Ayrshire Council. Very often we're giving them a pacing, but they've been very helpful in giving us permission to plant the bulbs at Doonfoot Primary School. And again, as a Rotary, Alloway Rotary has engaged very much with Doonfoot School, compliments them. There are challenges with social distances, etc. But we seem to have overcome that. We're getting permission to put the bulbs in. It won't be the usual photographic shots. We need to be aware of the social distance. But compliments to the local council and compliments to one of the local primary schools who's came on board with us. And secondly, just as a kind of afterthought, the opportunities of Zoom. Alloway Rotary is having a Burnsnacht, and we're having the Ayrshire Fiddle Orchestra, which is already pre-recorded. But in addition, we can spread our wings far and wide. We have a piper, would you believe, from Ontario, Canada joining us. So we're looking forward to that night as well. So that puts the Rotary message across the world, and the pipes coming inbound to Scotland rather than outbound. So that's me. Thank you very much, Gail.
No worries. Thanks, Bill. Steve.
Yes, we've at Paisley Callants have been doing a few things. We ordered quite a lot of bulbs, 12,000 bulbs this year. We still had a couple of thousand left over, and as Dave's already told you, we gave it over to him for his project. But we have got 5,000 bulbs we're planting at Riverbrae Special Needs School. We did 3,000 there last year. We've already got one of the Rotary plaques up in the wall at the front of the school in the area where the crocuses come up. And they did come up as well because we went back. I just don't have any photographs on my phone to share with you. And we've donated 1,000 to a village in Straven, Sanford Village. Actually, where my parents and my sister stay, but my mother is a polio survivor, very mild case, but there's my sister and the community garden club are planting polio. I'm going to put a sign up there as well. And also Tej yesterday was planting bulbs at Elderly Parish Church, who are gratefully, glad that they're allowing us to do that right at the front of their church, and we're going to be able to put a plaque up and saying what it's all about. So this is all helping, we think, to educate our community about things. Thank you.
Fantastic. Please share all of that with me in an email. I really would appreciate it, or register them as activities. But you mentioned signage. The bulbs are a fantastic opportunity at planting, at flowering, when you're doing ordering, seeking sponsors for them. But you must use the signage. You must, use the draft press releases for each of those stages. Great opportunity.
Yeah, they're great signs. We used one at Riverbrae last year, and I'm getting another 2 done, one for the parish church and one for my sister's village, so we can put them up.
Great, thanks, Stephen. Jimmy, you had your hand up. Thanks for waiting patiently.
Actually, I only wanted to let people know, or yourselves know, that Andrew McClellan had his hand up for ages, but I see he's now disappeared. The fact that there's 2 screens with everybody on it, that might be the fact that you never picked up on it, that he was waving his hand.
I think he must have had his hand.
It was his physical hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, like my wee emoji thing, all it was working was a clapping hand and the thumbs up.
Yeah.
But just before it disappeared,
okay.
Just to let you know that one of our Rotarians, Haradsan, who's in his late 70s, walked a particular amount of distance, miles or kilometres or whatever, and so far has raised £1,042 for End Polio.
Share it with me, please.
I will, Jannine. But Rennie, another one of our members, is doing a parachute jump.
Oh.
Also for End Polio.
Fantastic.
Right. Thank you, Jimmy. Right, I'm aware that we're just coming up for the hour now. Has everybody, I'm just checking my screens, has everybody spoken that wishes to speak? David?
Very quickly, if I may.
Yeah.
We know a member actually who had polio as a child. And funnily enough, his father had it as well in the UK. But he has to swim regularly to improve his thigh muscles, which in turn help his heart. Now, this guy's in his 60s, I'm sure you won't mind me telling you about him. So it never in his case has gone away. you always imagine that once you have it, you have it really badly, but he had it mildly and it still hasn't gone away from him. And funny enough, my neighbour has it in her feet and she always has had it since a child. So it's about there. And I was interested to hear what Jannine said there about the fact that there are people out there who have it and we don't know who they are. And I think it's worthwhile looking into that more to find out if there are people in our neighbourhood that do have it, who could possibly, we could possibly either help or they can help us.
Indeed,
something back.
both ways round is a really important point. And don't also forget about post-polio syndrome. You know,
yes,
many, the vast majority of polio survivors 30, 40 years later will become even worse, whatever situation they're in before, because of post-polio syndrome.
Yes, yeah.
And that can have a real
look at that.
negative effect on mental health as well.
Mm.
No, it's not just
True.
about the physical, it's the mental aspects of it too.
That's true.
Tej, could I ask you to do a quick vote of thanks, if that's okay?
That's fine. Thank you very much. First of all, I'll say what a fantastic speaker. I'm glad I invited you. You have made my job very simple now. You have said everything I couldn't have expressed the way you have expressed. Polio is close to your heart, Jannine, and I congratulate you for that. And I'm just going to repeat what she said. Keep your feet on the pedal. Please keep supporting. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Please join me in a usual way manner to thank Jannine.
Thank you all. You've been fantastic, and you've made me feel good with the things you're doing. Thank you.
No, thanks for coming along, Jannine. So I think it's given the clubs food for thought, and it is something that we just need to keep pushing that extra bit now. So we're nearly there. Right, everybody, thank you very much for a fantastic forum yet again. Thank you for coming. We'll try and arrange another one for probably about a month's time, and we'll try and get something organised again. Probably, I don't know what I'll be welcome for any ideas you want to put across. So good to see you. Keep safe, stay well, safe home. Bye now.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.